Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Paul, aka Powerhouse21, and today I am doing some sound treatment to the office. The reason I'm doing this specifically is because, first off, when I'm on conference calls for work or when I'm gaming or anything like that and using my microphone, I really do notice a lot of reverberation in the room, and you might not hear it right now because I am using my Rode NT1, and it doesn't seem to pick up a whole lot of the room, which I really like. What I ended up doing was creating some of these. And as you hear, as I get farther and farther away from the microphone, you might be picking up more of, let me get this in focus here. There we go. Let's try this again. All right. So now, as I back up, you might be hearing more and more of the room. I haven't done any post-processing on this. The only thing this is going through is my tube preamp, my Behringer tube preamp, and then into a Focusrite Scarlett 2i4. But what I ended up doing to kind of fix what you're hearing right now is make a bunch of these. These are 1 foot by 1 foot squares. I got a lot of help from my dad, so thank you if you're watching this. And he was able to make these frames for me, and then I went ahead and put everything on the inside. So the back isn't very pretty. The front I really like. So I'll break this all down. I'll make sure you know exactly what goes into this and why I did it. Go ahead and sit back, relax, and let's get this thing taken care of. But before I go into this, I'm going to go ahead and treat this room because honestly, I think it's about time for everybody to enjoy a non-reverberated sound. Okay, so it's been a couple of days, and I kind of wanted to make sure that everything was in a good spot. I mean, I have a lot of art on my walls that I really wanted to keep in here, but it's a lot of reflective surfaces. I mean, there's a lot of glass in the frames, so I kind of wanted to make sure that all of that could stay up, as well as making sure that all of these panels, because there are 13 of them, didn't have a whole lot of clutter look to them, so it took a little bit of time to kind of get it all together. So I'm not sure if you can actually hear a difference on this because of the Rode NT1 microphone that I use. I mean, it's already pretty focused in on vocals. The fact that it doesn't pick up a whole lot of the room unless I get farther away. This, of course, right here is the metal windscreen for it, and then the microphone is just below. But other than that, this mic is so amazing. What I think I'm going to do is just go ahead and switch over to the internal GH5 microphone for a second. And this is how that sounds. So being that I'm farther away, the microphones are actually pointed up or whatever they are. They're probably catching a lot of the room right now. And being that I have to talk a little bit louder because I need to project toward the actual camera, I am probably picking up a lot of reverberation. However, it may not be as bad as it was before. And I'll go ahead and play a clip of what it was in the first portion of the video now. So now, as I back up, you might be hearing more and more of the room. But now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and switch back to the Rode because I just really like how this sounds. The only thing is, with a microphone like the Rode NT1 or any other microphone out there, as I get farther away, the more of the room it'll pick up. So one thing I did notice while listening to the test samples that I did before recording this is that before having these panels up, I actually noticed that there was quite a ring, and I think it's caused by some of the reverberation of the room and the sound of my voice, and it just kind of creates a really odd ring that I then have to EQ out. And what I've noticed is that as I'm working through these samples trying to figure out if it's actually done anything different or not, I actually notice that I have to EQ it quite a bit less to remove that ring, which if that's the only thing that it's done for the entire project, that's okay with me. Making it easier on myself to make videos is exactly what this project was for. And if that little bit of difference helps me out, then I call this project a success. One thing I do want to say is that what you've been listening to so far through the Rode NT1 or the on-camera microphone is that I haven't done any sort of post-processing. The only thing happening right now is that this microphone is going into my Behringer tube preamp, and then it goes right into my Focusrite audio interface. It then goes into Audacity. I don't have it going through Nectar or the Dynamics processor or anything like that. I have it going through none of that, and I wanted to make this as raw as possible just so you could have a listen as to how this sounds before I start messing with it. But other than that, everything is pretty raw, and that's really what I wanted to keep within this video. Now on to making the panels. They were made out of 8-foot pieces of 1x2. They were cut into a configuration for a 1-foot by 1-foot square frame. So let's get those cut up. And then 3 1-inch brads were placed on each end. On the back, I used a metal mesh. I found it in the fencing area at Lowe's, and honestly, this worked the best. I was able to cut it with some tin snips, and honestly, I was able to use tin snips or metal shears or whatever you want to call them instead of the wire cutters, specifically to prevent hand fatigue, and I was able to just kind of blast through it. It would have taken me so long to make a square to go over the frame if I would have just used that, so if you're going to do this project, go ahead and get some tin snips or some metal shears or something like that. It made it a lot easier. I attached everything in this entire project other than the brads with staples. They are 10mm heavy-duty staples, and I went through a lot of them. They are really cheap, but I honestly went through almost 2 boxes that have 1,500 a piece. I just wanted to make sure that they were as secure as possible. So yeah, I got a little staple happy. For the insulation or the sound deadening material on the inside, I use something called RockWool. RockWool comes in a lot of different variations. The one that I used is called Safe&Sound. It's specifically made for sound absorption. It's not made for sound proofing, I don't think, but it's really made to slow down the airwaves that pass through it to prevent it from either bouncing back and creating reflections or just getting vibrations through the walls when you use it in a basement, in a theater, or wherever. It's just the type that you're supposed to use for a project like this. So if you didn't know, a sheet of insulation apparently is called a bat. That's bat with 2 T's, not 1 T. But I'm going to call them sheets from now on because I just find it easier. But there are 12 sheets, or bats, in a pack of this stuff. So there's a lot of insulation here. I actually probably went through 2 or 3 total out of the entire 12, so I have a lot left over. When I cut this stuff, I actually used just some utility scissors. I did try to use a utility knife, but it just ended up making a mess. The utility scissors ended up just being a lot easier. I could cut everything very quickly, and then I was able to just kind of cut the excess however I needed it without having to mess around with a gigantic knife. Since every sheet of RockWool is 3 inches thick, and I'm only using 1x2s, I used the utility scissors to cut the sheet in half, which then gave me more squares to put into frames, so I ended up using even less than I thought I would. Now I know some of you are sitting there, it's like, RockWool is supposed to be 3 inches for a reason, and you're supposed to leave it that way. I get it. I totally understand. But the thing is, I'm trying to make an unobtrusive frame here to hang on the walls in an office that I have to use almost every day, and I don't want gigantic 3-inch pieces of board hanging off the walls. And also, by cutting them in half, yes, you do need to use more of them, but like I said, I'm okay with that so far. To cover these, I used black speaker grill cloth on all of them. I cut these to have an overlap just large enough to pull it tight, but not tight enough to rip, because I am using a lot of staples here, trying to keep everything in order. I used speaker grill cloth specifically because it's acoustically transparent. I got mine on sale at Jo-Ann Fabric, plus I had a coupon, which was fantastic because this stuff is like $9 a yard, but at $9 a yard, you're also getting 60 inches wide, so it actually gives you quite a bit of fabric for that price. But go in there, use coupons, honestly. I'm not in any way sponsored by Jo-Ann Fabric or anything like that. It's just the place that I used, and it was the easiest for me to find the speaker grill cloth that I wanted. So one point that I want to make, when I say acoustically transparent, that means sound can pass through with as little to no restriction as possible, and that's what you want. The firmer the cloth, the less air that can travel through it. You want the sound to get into the RockWool and slow it down there, not hit a piece of fabric and have it bounce back at you and have the RockWool have no impact on what you just built. So I went ahead and covered them all as best as possible. This is what the back looks like. It's really, really ugly, but that's not the part that's going to be showing anyway. I also covered quite a few of them with like a dressmaker's tool. It's like a really fine mesh stuff. I don't really know what else it's called. So in this one, I put a white tool over top of the black speaker grill cloth, and it created a gray, which actually kind of creates a neat look. Here's a tip: if you're looking for things that are acoustically transparent and you don't want to use speaker grill cloth or tool or anything like that, and you want to use something else, just make sure if you try to blow through it, a lot of air passes through. If you find something that you can blow very freely into and it passes through, you've found something that's acoustically transparent. Sound will go ahead and pass through easily. It'll hit the RockWool and it'll slow it down. If you try to use something highly restrictive or solid like a vinyl or a canvas that won't let enough sound through, your RockWool won't actually make any difference if it's there or not. However, if anybody has used a canvas or thicker cloth or anything like that and has had great results, please leave a comment below. I'm actually really interested in other ways that I can cover these, and let me know what you found or where you found it, because I would definitely like to try some new materials on the other panels that I make. The only other thing that I did with this entire project, besides putting a ton of staples, is using these little screw eyelet things. And I went ahead and also used framer's wire to hang them all. And the reason I did that was because, first off, it was cheap. Second off, it was super easy. And all I needed was one nail. I didn't need frame hangers or anything like that for the walls. All I needed was a single small nail, because these things are pretty light. And honestly, that was exactly how I did it. I did do the framer's knot, or the framer's whatever connection thing here. I went online and learned how to make it, so then when I made 21 of them, it wasn't too hard for me to pick up. But there you go. Simple project. It's a lot smaller than other panels that I've seen online. Some of them are 1 foot by 1 foot. I've seen triangles. I've seen the 2 foot by 4 foot sheets. I've seen a lot of different things, but these are exactly what I was looking for. These are exactly what I wanted to. So I hope this is a project that you can do in your spare time. It took me a few days to kind of put them all together, but of course I was working during the day, so at night was pretty much the time that I had to put these together. Only took me a few days, and I'm actually really happy with how they turned out. So if you end up trying this project, go ahead and leave a comment below and let me know how it turned out for you as well. And also tell me what other fabrics or other things you used to make these. I'm actually pretty interested in the other styles that people have. But I'm gonna go ahead and call it good for this video. I think it's probably long enough. And of course, I have to say, if you like this type of content, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. This is great practice for me for editing, sound, just doing projects in general, learning more of my camera, learning more of my lights, and just kind of all encompassing how to do video work. So like I said, if you like it, give it a thumbs up. Think of subscribing. I'll go ahead and try to do more projects like this. I do have a lot of other things in the works right now, which I'm really excited for. So go ahead and hit the little bell if you want to be notified. But definitely think about subscribing. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you sticking out this long, and have a wonderful day.